not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nubs. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of Whitney Young being run out of Harlem on a rail with a brand new process. There will be no slow motion or still lights of Roy Wilkins strolling through Watts in a red, black, and green liberation jumpsuit that he has been saving for just the proper occasion. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction will no longer be so damn relevant, and women will not care if Dick finally got down with Jane on Search for Tomorrow, because black people will be in the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no highlights on the 11 o'clock news and no pictures of Harry armed women liberationists and Jackie Onassis blowing her nose. The theme song will not be written by Jim Webb or Francis Scott Keys, nor sung by Glenn Campbell, Tom Jones, Johnny Cash, Engelbert Humperdinck, or The Rare Earth. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be right back after a message about a white tornado, white lightning, or white people. You will not have to worry about a dove in your bedroom, the tiger in your tank, or the giant in your toilet bowl. The revolution will not go better with Coke. The revolution will not fight germs that may cause bad breath. The revolution will put you in the driver's seat. The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live.
I'm talking about shout it going crazy. People going crazy in this motherfucker. Run that shit back, man.
But it means nothing. Nothing about a woman on a day. Man made the car. Carry the heavy load. Man made the electrolyte to take us out of the dark. Man made the boat for the water like it's seven no meter. Man thinks about a little bit of baby girl and a baby boy. Make them happy because man makes them strong. But after man make everything we can, do you know that man makes money? To buy from other men. This is a man
Black family greetings. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced. In conjunction with the Frontline Black News, this is season 10, episode 25 of Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced. And I'm your host, or co-host, co-executive producer, Chang Crewman. We should be joined here shortly with Shabaka Sankori, our other host and co-executive producer, and who the show is named after. And we are joined with Sister Anaya, and who is V of 40M? Is that Brother Dynamite? Who's?
No, that's 40M. And yeah, people don't know anybody 90 on it, so you can just use a quit. But 40M V, you stay there? I know he's at work, so.
No, I'm present. I ain't know if he was asking me directly or what, but yeah, I'm a Conrad V of 40 Young. Let's just say Conrad of many here, including Brother Shabaka. Big full salute, Black Power.
Okay, Black Power, brother. Appreciate you joining us. I just wasn't sure who it was. Okay, got you. Shabaka should be joining us here shortly. He wanted to discuss what's happening in L.A. With the National Guard being deployed. Sly Stone died at age 82. Sly Stone of the Family Stone has just transitioned at 82. And then he wanted to discuss something else. Let me see. Like 3. How can black people get on code at home and abroad? So it's just pulling this up. My phone was acting stupid all of a sudden. All right, so Sister and I, what are your thoughts that you're in California right now? What are your thoughts on what's happening with the National Guard being deployed to Los Angeles, California to quell the anti-ICE protests?
Okay, I want to read a quote first.
All right, go ahead.
Government is not infallible. Government is only an executive control, a centralized authority for the purpose of expressing the will of the people. Before you have a government, you must have the people. Without the people, there can be no government. The government must be, therefore, an expression of the will of the people. Now, so as we go through this and we look at it, what people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it all together,
Black
when Black Lives Matters when Black Lives Matters came to DC, because I was out there.
Uh-huh.
I was out there in DC when Black Lives Matter came out. And, they went through, I don't know all this stuff, but I was out there because of what happened with George Floyd. So I went out there because that was messed up. And one of the reasons why I went out there, my husband was living at the time, and they kept on playing it over and over and over and over on TV. And that was the second time I ever seen my husband cry. And that bothered me too. They were out there doing the most. Even if you look at everything that's going on with the National Guard, the police department in L.A. dealing with the so-called immigrants, that's not what they did to us.
No, they're getting kids.
Doing
whatever. With kid gloves. We got Dynamite and Black Joe on the building. Black Power.
What do you say, Jesse?
All power to the people.
What did you say?
All power to the people, brother.
All power. Go finish your thought, Sister Anaya.
Yeah, because you should have seen what they was doing. This stuff that's going on with them, they're getting away with everything. They ain't really getting hurt. They ain't getting pepper sprayed. They're not getting beat up with and all kind of stuff like
that. Not getting dogs sick on them. They're not getting water hoses sprayed on.
Water hose or hitting on their children. Remember, our stuff was happening during the daytime. Daytime, and it went through night. I went through the next day. What about, the stuff that was going on with the Proud Boys? And they was over there, shooting up people in our neighborhood. You know what I mean? And they turning around, they're getting away with setting things on fire and doing all kind of stuff like that. Come on, they the ones that's actually doing the most.
Right.
Not even the police department. They ain't doing jack. And they not. It reminds me of, and then a comment that was made earlier, because obviously the person ain't never been in the military had the audacity to say, "Oh, Trump doesn't have enough tanks to do anything." That's outrageous. And that's how you already know that you ain't ever been in the military. Just like he had that parade thing going down there on the train that they try to get off the news, right? And that was the same thing that happened when Andrew Johnson did that same thing. Mm-hmm. He's trying to, and this is the thing that people don't realize. And maybe, it can be said. Think that with all of this going on, trying to turn around, make everything desert or whatever, what is the one thing that would affect everybody on the planet? One thing that can affect everybody in the whole planet. That's the question. I didn't hear you, Jesse. What did you say?
I said nuclear fallout.
The same thing they've been talking about the whole time. One world order. They could shut the country down, shut the world down, talking about because of all this chaos, they can't get anything in control. I forgot the official name for it, but they can declare something, and it can change the whole dynamic for everybody.
They could declare war.
No, it's another word for it. It's not a war. It's a way of them. There's not a war. It's a way of them saying, "Hey, we're doing this because we're trying to keep you safe."
Oh, martial law.
Martial law. That's exactly what that can be done. There you go. That's what it is. And I yield.
All right. Black Lightning, Black Power. Greetings.
Black Power, everybody. What's up? Yeah, I was watching it. They were getting hit with rubber bullets and beanbag rounds, but I was saying the same thing. I said, where they ain't doing them like they did us. They ain't got the German shepherds out there biting them. They ain't got the fire department hitting them with water hoses.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they did get hit with some rubber bullets, though, and I kind of like that Green Goblin gun that they were shooting them beanbags out of. I was like, man, I gotta get me one now. Yeah. But don't that show Black America that when we march, they bulldoze through us. They'll get the SWAT tanks. That's the tank I'm talking about, the SWAT tank. They'll get the tanks and they'll bulldoze through us and just shoot and kill everybody along the way. Man, I'm waiting on one of the Mexicans to just start attacking them and just see how it works out. I want to see how it works out.
They sitting up here burning American flags. That's an act of terrorism. Trump said the fact that they're carrying Mexican flags makes them insurrectionists. I'm like, what his head be? He talking about just because you got a Mexican flag that make you an insurrectionist. What a stupid. They burning American flags while they saving Mexican flags.
Yeah, Mexican flags up left and right. Yeah, red. What is it? Red, white, and green. You got that symbol in the middle of it.
Yeah.
I was broadcasting that last night, and then for some crazy reason, I pulled up with a car playing music, and they all started dancing. They stopped protesting and started dancing and shit. And I was on there talking la 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 bamba. I've done that, but anyway, I'm here. All power to the shooters.
All power. Black Joe, what are your thoughts? Black Joe, you're muted.
Hello? Yeah, hey, check this. So I've been peeping. I look at it from a different aspect. I've been watching these reporters and stuff get shot. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
I say I've been watching these reporters and stuff get shot with rubber bullets and stuff, but what I've been paying attention to is the tech they've been using. Y'all know that robot dog Spot?
Yeah.
Anybody familiar with that? They've been using Spot to gather facial recognition data and been letting them commit crimes and go inspect their houses.
Yeah, robot dog Spot. They had Spot out there. Yep, sure did.
Yeah.
Like they've been really using.
They had that in L.A. and over here too.
they've been using their tech against them. I watched a white boy try to barge through the police on a Harley. He stopped and his bike kept going. They knocked him smooth off his bike. So, but one thing for sure and two for certain, that alliance. See, if anybody was paying attention back a couple of months ago when they had that nationwide protest, all them white folk went out. And it was this quiet alliance between the white folk and the police. Where did nobody get hit? Did nobody get touched? The LGBT didn't get beat? None of that.
Yep.
That was the first warning to black folk. This ain't our fight. When George Floyd whether George Floyd overdosed or not, he had a knee on his neck and that would have complicated his overdose. They put that shit on. They put that on TV. So when that happened, you had whites, Asians, Mexicans, Africans, Jamaicans, Haitians. He shouldn't have resisted.
Yeah.
So we at a point right now where they got to hold their own nut.
Exactly.
And us here, native to this land. I'm not saying don't have no alliances. I am saying you a fool if you don't arm yourself and be ready to use deadly force. And I land my plane.
Okay. Yeah, like you always say, get strapped or get clapped.
True that.
And what are your thoughts on the subject? Brother V, 48, you're muted. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm here, brothers. I'm here. Yeah,
Black Power.
Yeah, Big Fours, Black Power, brother Lightning. What's the deal with you, man?
All right. Good to see you.
You already know, brother. You already know.
Yeah.
I mean, we seen this play out many times before. We know how the opposition work. They feed a stimulus, they observe collected data, and use it for whatever they need later. I mean, it's what it watch, repeat, and rinse.
Yeah, rinse.
We know that. We know protesting ultimately is not going to be. It's not going to be effective as far as implementing any type of real political change. Like you might be able to get them to feed you crumbs, just to kind of hush and quell people for the time temporarily. But once all that noise and fuss dies down, it's going to be back to business as usual. So I mean, it's the same setup for us. For us now, I just look at it as if we are going to look to engage in this situation, then it needs to be a case where we're doing so calculatively, in the sense that, yes, many of these groups in the past have proven that they really don't have an interest to work collaboratively with us. They've proven that time and time again, unless it's a situation that they've figured out a way to usurp for their own benefit.
Yep.
So if we're going to work with them and engage and ultimately utilize our resources, our personnel, our bodies, and assisting on their agenda, then there needs to be some type of, I can't say contractual obligation set up, but there has to be some type of agreement with some type of enforcement mechanism to where if we decide to engage and assist, when it's time for us to proactively make our moves in our best interest, they'll be prepared to do the same thing. And it won't be that was then, this is now type situation.
These are the same ones that was talking about they need to protest our reparations. In California, they said if they can't get reparations before the Native Americans and us Mexicans. So no. There's no coalition. There's no minority coalition. All of these groups have shown their hand. They have shown that they only use us for our numerical value and then abandon us in our time of need. The leader of LULAC, the founder of LULAC, said that's the Negroes' problem. Well, Jorge, this is your goddamn problem. This ain't got shit to do with us. So continue to stay home, FBA Black family that's in L.A. Don't get involved in this madness. This shit ain't got nothing to do with us. And
actually, brother, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
It actually got a lot to do with us. What they are successfully doing is making every radical fringe group angry with Black Americans. Man, to listen to what some of these whites and Mexicans are saying because niggas ain't out there with them. is interesting. We have no allies, and the killing part is prison politics led their course this way, and I yield.
You're right, brother. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm saying, their cause, what they fighting for, that ain't got nothing to do with us.
But look,
We're
check this
not
out, right?
fighting
Let's
to
check
be
this out.
citizens of the United States.
Check
These
this out.
people is fighting to literally break the law to legally be here and not follow proper immigration policy.
Wait a
They
minute, but
mad
check
because the dump is enforcing immigration policy. We're not immigrants. So like I said, this ain't got nothing to do with us. They can be mad all they want, but they can hope they on chalupa because they showing us time and time again that they don't give a damn about us either.
But check
So
this out right here. Because the government has turned around repeatedly and allowed people to come in here. Now, every time they even set up areas, they even had, areas and where they could come in, set up things, and they allow them to come in. And then all of a sudden, they turn around and say, "Okay, we've used you up now." You know what I mean? So we're gonna throw you out. And they have not just
And
done that with them. They have done it. Look what they did with just dealing with Bin Laden in them.
yeah,
but sister, you just said it though. Like Jason Black always say, white supremacy breaks its toys when it's done with it. It's done with these toys, and also no shots at the black women. They etch eye too.
mm,
exactly. Yeah. So
Uh,
it's like, and
here's-
this is the thing that gets me. The white man, the white supremacists and the honorary supremacists they always have the same tactics. They do the same thing over and over and over again. And we still fall victim to that. We're supposed to be higher than that. We're supposed to be growing higher than that. We are one in two with nature. We are supposed to be beyond them and their repetitiveness.
The ones who haven't fell victim to it are the ones who are forced to be at the bottom of the totem pole of everything, and that's the black man. Everything has been used against the black man, including the black woman.
yeah.
and they got 2,000 National Guards and 700 Marines. No, no, in L.A. Sent to L.A. by Trump, and that's why the governor and mayor were upset with Trump because they were saying we can handle this without.
And
And
pretty
that's
much
another
every
thing
state.
also, brother, because that bothers me is that is reason why we are in the predicament that we are, is because the black man turns
We
around and
lost
he
you, Anaya.
separates himself from the
Go
black
ahead.
woman when we are one.
Welcome back,
June
brother.
14th, they are having a nationwide protest across the nation in all of the states on behalf of these Mexicans. So, yeah, they are preparing to handle this with extreme prejudice. Once again, the best thing black folk can do is, if you look, pretty much every state in this country, you can order body armor and it'll be delivered to your front door. If
Yeah,
you can't have a gun, get you some body armor, man. Like, it's not sweet. Like, for men or women, and especially the children, they hate our children. Our children are grown at 9 and 10 for the pedophiles and for death from the cops. So we gotta understand that this war has been waged against us for the last 60 or 70 years. We know what's coming. We know how it's gonna go. That's it. I land that plane.
Thank you, Black Joe. All right, well, you're back, brother B. 40M, you got disconnected.
Yeah. I don't know if it was my reception or it might have been the opposition. I'll be honest. Every platform I get onto is a repetitive thing. So, you know what
yeah.
I'm saying? But either way, we gonna ride it till the wheels fall off. But
Uh-huh.
I'm definitely with the brother though. At the end of the day, listen, I am I'm I feel like we've been in this reactionary state for a long time. Like everything we do is in reaction to something that they're either doing or something that they're creating a narrative that they're doing, and it may not even be completely honest or 100% accurate. My thing is, we have plenty of options, plenty of solutions, etc., at our disposal. So, at what point can we start to work on putting those together that would take us out of their context and eliminate anything they're from doing, anything they could potentially do from affecting us or affecting us at least on a jurisdictional level. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, like, we're still on the same landmass as them. So unless we're paramilitarily or militarily prepared to occupy, acquire, etc., then, or at least defend,
Mhm.
then either way, we're still in the context of the jurisdiction and jurisprudence. So what can we do to eliminate that or reposition ourselves to whereas we can alleviate anything they could potentially do against us one way or another?
No one will take us seriously until we hold the gatekeepers and the black folk that are heads of politicians and all of these other organizations accountable. Understand what I'm saying? If we don't hold these embezzlers, these pedophiles, these rapists in our community that are in control and in power accountable, everyone else is going to laugh at us. How can we demand justice when our own people are doing us in? Now that's just how it has to start. But as of right now, like I keep on telling everybody, it's been on autopilot for about 25 years. They don't have to even wage war against us. They got niggas that look like us doing it from different countries, including our own land.
Yeah,
That's the issue.
yeah, that's them tethers. Gotta get them tethers out the paint.
I was
Them
listening on
tethers and
X
them
and it was,
neo-colonialists, they standing in the way of any kind of cohesion amongst the diaspora.
I did the math. 300 million versus 50 million equals 1 versus 6. So if it ever jump off, that those are the odds against us.
Yeah,
I was looking on X and there was a sister on there. I
good
forgot who
point.
posted it on there, but she
Good
was
point.
like,
Well, let's see what the professor had to say about this while black people was sitting this one out. I got a video queued up for us.
you want me to finish?
Go ahead, Anaya, before I play the video.
Oh yeah, so she was like, you guys talk about you're originally from here and you don't even know what tribe you come from. What tribe do you come from? I know where I come from.
Right.
I believe a lot of us migrated from South America for a cooler climate. I got too many friends that look like the Olmec heads to just think that we were all bought here on boats. The way the Dutch and them came into the coast, that's a military invasion. I'm not saying that they didn't bring slaves with them, but I am saying that we all wasn't bought on boats.
Right. That's what I'm saying too. I agree with you. All right, let's see what the professor has to say about it.
Professor, and this is the moment of truth.
Because I have not followed your plea bargain agreement. Now, the conditions for the plea bargain agreement, that's something the court gets to decide. You understand? So if for some reason I don't follow your plea bargain agreement and I try to give you more than what you've bargained for, then you get to withdraw your plea and it can't be used against you if you decide to go to jury trial. You understand? And by that same token, if you withdraw your plea, then the state can say, okay, we're going to have to go to jury trial. We're going to go to jury trial. And maybe they won't be going to jury trial on a Class A misdemeanor. They'll be going to trial on the injury to the elderly. Not maybe, that's what they'd have to do. You understand? Explain to me, what's an in knocked? That's in the, that's in the police report. The officer said, suspect 1 stated that victim 1 had in knocked on her door.
And they knocked on their door trying to.
No, I'm asking.
Constantly.
No. What is an in knock?
Nigger knocking.
Yeah, what is that?
Going and knocking on a door and running. And
But why
running.
is it nigger knocking?
That's what.
Why isn't it Caucasian knocking? Why isn't no? Why isn't it Caucasian knocking? Why isn't Asian knocking? Why isn't some other knocking? Why is it called that?
No, that's just the way they say it.
No, that's the way you say it because that's what you said.
That's what they. I'm just. That's basically. I mean, all right. I don't know what else to tell you.
No, I'm just trying to figure out why.
It's
Why would
not
you
like
call
a
it
race.
that?
It wasn't to be racist. The kids just kept knocking and knocking on my door, constantly doing that to me. They live upstairs. I did not touch this kid, and I really don't even want to sit here and plead to say that I did.
Oh, you can go. We can have a jury trial.
I don't want to do that because he says that's not the best thing to do.
No.
I just lost. Look, I lost a child. My son was 19 years old, was murdered just 2 years ago. I'm under a lot of stress already. You know, so I'm just trying to get out of this and get it as easy as
just what?
I'm just stressed out enough.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So do you want a jury trial?
No, I don't. I just want to get this over with. Do the probation, and whatever I have to do.
All right, so what was the race of
Finish till you asked me that question. If you knew the answer to the question.
what is the race of the complainant?
Hispanic.
Hispanic.
Everyone's Hispanic in the instance.
And what do you, if I knew the answer, I don't know why you would say that. That's why I'm trying to figure out why you're saying it, because in the police report, they say you were intoxicated. So I'm trying to figure out.
Intoxicated.
That's what it says in the police report. It says suspect stated V had knocked on her door and she came outside to see who knocked. And victim's family came down the stairs yelling at her, accused her of hitting the victim. Suspect kept saying she did not want to tell her side of the story and tried to walk away to go inside. I detained suspect to investigate further. And it says in here that there was signs of drinking.
I don't see a crime in drinking in your own home. I was in my own home.
I'm just trying to figure out what's going on because I have to set conditions for you. Is this an anger problem? Because they want you to.
I just, I'm sorry that you caught me off guard with the question that you asked me. I feel like you're kind of in a setup, I felt kind of set up with that question. I understand it's not a word to be used, and I understand that I used it in the wrong word, in a wrong way, and I apologize for that. So I'm sorry.
There's more in here that you said. You're using profanity. I am trying to figure out, because it says suspect had a strong odor of intoxicants on her. I'm trying to figure out why the state is asking for anger management, because they're requesting that you do anger management. They're requesting that you have a TAP evaluation to see if you have a drug or alcohol problem. They're asking for sober support meetings. Sober support meetings are usually for people who have a drug or alcohol problem. I'm trying to figure out what's going on because you told me that the lady, Samantha, had, assaulted you or is still causing problems with you. So I'm trying to read the room and figure out what's going on, and I cannot.
No, I don't have a drinking problem. Yes, I lost my child on February 5th, 2023. He was murdered by a best friend in a gas station in Austin, Texas. And I lost my fiance 11 days before that. He had a heart attack inside my home. I've been under a lot of stress and frustration. These people don't leave me alone from upstairs. It's a constant fight with this lady. So I'm moving myself away from that environment. I've already lost my job because of her, that I had a job with for 6 years, working from home.
Well, I guess Thomas Jefferson had it right after all. If you want to get screwed, or in this case, if you want to screw yourself, go to court. Now, you see, this case in particular was in Texas, but it has everything to do with what's going on in California, because this is the reason why you don't see black folks sticking their necks out, nor should we be. This woman here was looking at all kinds of charges. Assault, bodily injury is a Class A misdemeanor, and that was the plea deal that she got. So they decided they were going to overlook all this mess that was going on. Let's go ahead and try to water this down because, you're not dealing with a black defendant, so that's how the system works then. The judge said that if this heifer withdrew her plea, then the DA would upgrade the charges to injury to the elderly. Injury to the elderly. So that's what it was supposed to have been. That's what that means. The charge she should have been looking at is injury to the elderly. So apparently she got into some kind of physical altercation with her neighbors, and apparently there was some sort of elderly person who was injured by her, and there were some other people making complaints as well, and that's what put her in court. So she got into a fight with her neighbors, and then the judge dropped the bomb, the N-bomb, and wanted to know, what did that mean? And this woman sitting here, she already knew that she was stuck, but it's a matter of the judge had every right to ask about that. This heifer had an attitude, though, saying she felt the judge was setting her up. Setting her up? She was indignant that the judge was asking her to explain the circumstances of the crime that she had committed. The judge didn't snatch her off the street and say, you're going to court. She put herself in that situation, and she showed exactly what kind of person that she is. Her Hispanic neighbors were knocking on her door, and she's calling it nigger knocking. And then when the judge does her job in open court and asks for clarification of the police report, this woman sits here being all indignant, phony indignation. This because the judge was actually doing her job, asking her to explain, for the sake of her plea deal, the circumstances of the crime that she had committed. That's the judge's job, getting details about it. What is it that we're making a plea deal on? What are the circumstances here? The judge explained it. This was about setting the conditions so that she could find out whether this was someone who needs to be in anger management or drug treatment. Hell, I would have sentenced her to both. But the thing to remember is this is what's going on in Texas right now, not just Texas, other places. You got people who come from cultures that practice rampant anti-black racism, and they bring that mess here. Here she is with her Hispanic neighbors knocking on her door, apparently to hear her tell it tormenting her, and the first thing that comes to her otherwise empty head is to start throwing around the N-word, where there's no black people concerned, and even if there were, that wouldn't have made it right. But it just goes to show, when it comes to these anti-black racists, you got to go beyond just the people who come from Western Europe, just the Caucasians alone. Everybody has drank from that particular cup. There's a whole lot of people who have been eating good and feeling good and living good off of anti-black racism. That's where reparations comes in, because you got all these other people, especially these immigrants, who will try to tell you, we didn't have nothing to do with no slavery or Jim Crow. We don't owe for nothing. And yet these people are just as racist as any good old boy on any plantation. What they've shown is they know the rules of racism and they love to play along. So yeah, they are every bit as complicit. They came to the United States so that they could take advantage of the world's strongest economy, made possible only by our uncompensated labor. And they also understood that there was a racial pecking order here, one that might allow them to do something that they can't do in Latin America, and that is to claim to be white. So as far as they were concerned, they were going to get an economic and social upgrade at black people's expense. So for all the people out there who aren't paying attention, wondering whatever happened to the great Black-Brown Alliance, first of all, there never was one. And second of all, if you want to know what happened to it, it's because black people realized they were standing out there by themselves and got tired of standing alone and just said, forget it, we're packing it in. That's what happened. And this is not just the attitude of this woman here. There's a hell of a lot of folks across this country who share the exact same anti-black racism that she does. It's just that they don't get called out in open court about it. That's all. This video and the confessions that the judge had to wring from the defendant may have come as a surprise and a shock to certain people, but for black folks in America, it's no surprise at all. We've been complaining about this for the longest time. This has been a reality that we've been forced to have to endure. You got individuals who aren't blonde-haired and blue-eyed. They cannot trace their ancestry back to Western Europe, anything, and yet they can't wait to try to call themselves white on driver's licenses, job applications, school admission forms, the census forms, and all the rest of that stuff. And they also want to make it very clear they understand the rules of racism, and rule number one is this racial pyramid scheme calling itself a society will reward you if you're a mouth-frothing anti-black racist. You'll be rewarded for that. You get a pat on the head and then some. And then you wonder why it is that black folks are not sticking their necks out for any sort of immigration anything. Out there in Los Angeles, you got the L.A. Times who are all up in arms because the orange man has been sending in the National Guard, and he's making it very clear that wherever his guys go, they're going to be fully supported. And you know what? Truth be told, as president, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. He has his directives, he has his program, and he's making sure that when his guys show up, their authority is not questioned. And if it is questioned, they got enough force to make sure that it won't be questioned for very long. And black people are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing out there in Los Angeles, staying the hell out of it. It is not our turn to give a rip about what's going on because nobody ever cares about what happens to us. So that being the case, everybody's standing on their own. We've been standing out there alone for the longest time. Now everybody else can see what it's like. Because the truth of the matter is, these other folks, they ain't built like we are. They're not even trying to. As far as they're concerned, they're waiting for white mommy and white daddy to stop slapping them in the face and start patting them on the head. And what they're realizing is, nah, the orange man, he can keep slapping you for a minute now. And all of those folks who they thought were going to come running to their rescue, they ain't there. Where are the teeming throngs of tens of thousands in the streets? They're not there. Because a lot of them understand that if they actually called themselves going to one of them little illegal alien rallies, ICE will be sitting there, handcuffs and flexi cuffs at the ready. They know that. Hell, they're snatching people out of court. What do you think they'll do? You call yourself having yourself some sort of rally. They'll be like, good, bring in the armored personnel carriers, bring in the big high water trucks. We're going to make sure we box everybody in and round them up. And what's the white media's response to this been? Well, we got the L.A. Times, supposed to be the paper of record out there. They're running articles with headlines such as, Feds vow to continue immigration enforcement every day in L.A. Here are your rights. So what you got is the L.A. Times trying to give a how-to manual on how to evade the illegal immigration roundup that's going on. When you had the BLM protests, you didn't have the LA Times or anybody else in the white media talking about what to do when the police are arresting protesters or how people should try to resist the police during traffic stops or when the cops show up at your home, how you can stonewall them. They weren't doing that. Instead, it was all police do a dangerous job. And what about the records of these black people that they've been killing? You know, these guys, half of them happen to have no record at all, but don't worry about them. We're going to worry about the other half who might have had a little bit of dirt under their fingernails. We're going to focus on that. They're not doing that this time around. Instead is, well, here's how you can escape and evade the police. Here's how you can stonewall them. Here's the questions that you may need to answer, but here's the ones you don't need to answer. They're given a how-to manual on how to stonewall and evade the cops. They're doing this for illegal aliens, people who aren't even citizens. I could see it differently, perhaps, if they were doing this for law-abiding citizens, but they're doing this for people who aren't even in the country legally. Never mind the fact that a hell of a lot of those people happen to be dangerous criminals, not just for crimes they committed in the United States, but crimes they committed back in their home countries, which is the reason why so many of them don't want to have to go back. Because they know as soon as they do, they're going straight to jail. They figured that they would run away from whatever legal sentence that they were facing in their home country and flee to the U.S. instead. And they've been allowed to. But now they're being told, you got to go back home and face the music. That's what this is really about. Criminals who don't want to have to face the charges that they racked up for themselves back in their home countries. So they're demanding asylum in the U.S. They ain't fleeing for no doggone gangs. They're fleeing from the consequences of their own criminality. That's what this is really about. You got the white media sitting here telling us that we need to go ahead and overlook all that. They've got rights. Yeah, they got rights, which, by the way, have been observed and upheld to the letter. They're explaining how people who aren't even citizens can protect their rights when their rights haven't been violated. The laws, however, have been violated. You have one of the major publications in America and arguably the largest in the state of California, and this is what they're saying to the public. They're laying out a plan for how to evade immigration enforcement, and they're making sure to publicize it to everyone. We want to make sure that everybody fights against law enforcement on this one. Never mind the fact that when Jim Crow Joe was president, he made it a point to divert COVID funds illegally from the federal government straight into the coffers of the police. So all of those people out there who are going to find themselves facing law enforcement, just keep in mind, Joe Biden made sure to turbocharge the cops. The thugs in blue got a hell of a lot more money to work with and buy a lot more equipment to go after people. So those same folks who were sitting there saying that Joe Biden was a great president and need to give Kamala Harris the keys to the White House, this is what he enabled. But people don't think about that because all they thought about was, well, it's black people they were thinking about. This is going to apply to black people. That's what they thought. And now they're finding out the reality. People thought that they were going to get themselves in good with the white establishment powers that be, and now what's happened is it blew up in their faces and backfired. Am I supposed to be crying tears about that? And of course, you got California's primary illegal immigrant advocate, Karen Bass, living up to her name and complaining that the orange man sent in the National Guard. He federalized the National Guard here. Well, considering that California is ground zero for illegal aliens, instead of sending in the National Guard, he should have sent in the 101st Airborne. That's what he should have done. He didn't send in enough of them as far as I'm concerned. You got illegal aliens showing up at the Home Depot, standing out in broad daylight. And you got Mayor Bass complaining about that and saying, we had been told that he was going to go after violent criminals. It wasn't a drug den, it was a Home Depot. So I guess as far as Karen Bass is concerned, it's not enough to merely be a criminal. You have to be a violent criminal before she's willing to, at least on camera, say that ICE should be able to round you up. So as long as what you did was you stole somebody's car or you're broken into somebody's house, as long as you didn't beat anybody up, didn't rape them, and didn't kill anyone, as long as you're not standing there with a bloody knife in one hand and a dime bag of meth in the other screaming, I did it, as far as she's concerned, there should be no arrest. Because that's what she's really saying. Immigration and Customs Enforcement shows up, they're supposed to be just looking and going, well, I mean, they might want to be trying to install some drywall somewhere or maybe do some landscaping, so we dare not stop that. No. What matters is they're in the country illegally. That's supposed to be the end of it. Doesn't matter if they're violent criminals. The problem is that they're criminals, period. Their presence in the country is illegal. And this whole scam about, well, as long as somebody claims amnesty, they can go ahead and be in the United States pending their court hearing. Now, that's a doggone lie, and everybody knows it. What happens is they just go to wherever the hell they're going to be going to, and nobody ever follows up on them because the idea was never to follow up on them. The idea from the very beginning was that mass immigration would be used as a political and demographic counter-lever to the pressure that black people were putting on the system. It's been that way since the 19th century. All of those European immigrants who were allowed in, it wasn't because they loved the Irish. They had up signs that said no dogs are Irish allowed. But what they did know was that the Irish would fit in quite well with the system of anti-black racism that was set up, and that's exactly what happened. From the draft riots to the labor unions to the police departments, the Irish were easily able to fit right into the anti-black structure that existed in the U.S., and they forgot all about the problems that they had with those same Anglo-Saxons cousins over in the old country in Ireland. They forgot all about that. And we saw the same pattern play itself out with every single group of immigrants who have ever come to the United States. Doesn't matter who they are, they all understand assimilation means you're getting on code against black people. Everybody understands that. They know that's what it means. So for this latest dust up in Los Angeles, the people who are sitting here trying to do all of that, we're all in this together stuff, no. Everybody's going to go to their respective corners and they're going to stick up for themselves and let it be. Because black people for the longest time were trying to get everybody to hold hands and come together, and everybody said, well, you guys, you need to be on your own, and stop complaining, and oh, we got better things to do, and okay, fine then, we got better things to do. Because that is our right. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Russell Richardson, Sakina Collins, Suleiman Alaji, Dia Williams, and Antonio Daniels. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.
All right, go ahead, Anaya. What was your question?
Okay, so one of the things that, again, bothers me is that we're not looking at the money. And that money that was given out, that belongs to us, our ancestors. Them jokers got money, over and over and over again. They got a place to live.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? A place to live.
Yep.
Right? And then on top of that, our children get murdered in the street. At Walmart, at Target, at the 7-Eleven. They can't even go outside and take a walk and eat and get some Skittles. Isn't that what happened to the brother down in Florida?
Yep, Trayvon.
His hood, he was in his neighborhood, and all he did went to the store and he was eating some Skittles.
Yep.
Oh man.
See, eating some Skittles and drinking some I.C.E. Yep.
Some I.C.E. And what about our children? What about that? You know what I'm saying?
Right. They don't give a damn about our children. They ain't give a damn about splitting up our families either.
Hell no. When you look at that old movie that came on, Claudine.
Yeah.
He couldn't even have a boyfriend.
In the household. Mm-hmm.
But they can have their mama, their daddy, their grandmama, their uncle, their aunt, the children down the damn street.
Yep.
And then when they come over there, they tear up the area, and then they try to blame it on us.
Mm-hmm.
I can show you some neighborhoods in Maryland. They ain't got screens in the windows.
Yep.
All right? Hanging out the window. But nobody says nothing about that. But they come in our neighborhoods and harass us.
Firebomb us.
Bomb us.
And whole black families in East L.A. and in Compton.
Setting on fire. And that was another thing a sister said. Well, they going through it, or and to compare it to what our ancestors going through.
Hell to the no.
These ain't say nothing.
Right.
Nothing. That's the shit that pisses me off.
Right. All right, let's hear from Donna Mike. What's your thoughts, Donna Mike, on what the good professor just said?
Black power. Well, I'm just amazed at the amount of, I'm just being funny right now. I'm amazed at the amount of cowboy hats and Jordache jeans I saw. I said that on my broadcast last night. I said, I ain't never seen that many Jordache jeans in my life. Anyway, look, they wasn't helping us in none of our shit. You know what I mean? The only time I seen the Brown Berets, and they cool because I know them. Only time I saw them was in Tulsa, and that wasn't a riot. That was that was just a march. You know. And they really wasn't part of that. They just happened to be in the park. They wasn't part of our march, you know. So ain't nobody really concerned about what they think. I'm not really concerned about what they think. They can think what they want, but I see by their actions that they kiss up to them crack. Whoa, I'm gonna follow my own guidelines. They kiss up to the white man. They kissed up to the white man. They was the ones out there voting for Trump. You know what I mean? They were digging him up, and now all of a sudden, he told them what he was gonna do a year ago. He said, "I'm gonna do something about the border problem." And they was like, "Well, just go ahead and vote for him. Maybe he leave us alone." No, maybe he won't leave you alone. And who cares? I mean, look, if you want to get in this country the right way, do it the right way. Otherwise, there's a lot of black folks being bumped out of jobs because of that. And then we don't have what is equity and inclusion no more. That means that they can hire just each other if they want to. And that's what we do anyway. Because you walk into places, they all just speak Spanish. Don't speak no English. They speak Spanish. That's it. Even in New York, the man was telling me up in New York that they do that deliveries and stuff, DoorDash and stuff like that. He was saying Hispanics their own the DoorDash and they only hire each other. You know, so I ain't got nothing against nobody. You know, but they need to do their research a little bit further, because one of the things that irritated the hell out of me was watching them talk about whose streets, not those streets, our streets. It ain't streets. And as far as one thing that he did right, and I will cover this too, is that he was saying that if you're born in this country, that you're a citizen, that was for slavery. That was for slavery. That was in slavery times. Saying if you were born here, then you an American citizen. That don't mean you can just come from Timbuktu somewhere, come here, and all of a sudden you're an American citizen. Nah. The gatekeepers and the ones that steadily leading our people into a burning building just so they can get a little cash app here and there. I'm done with all of that. You know, I'm seriously done with it. You know, it's like, you know, it's like you see a person with a brain and then you say whatever you want to say to them, and then all of a sudden you realize this person got a brain and he got one of the memories that you forget nothing for years. Over 196,940,000 square miles of the planet dirt, plus over the ice wall. This is our shit. This ain't their shit. If they want to go back to Mexico or wherever and say, whose streets? Our streets? Yes, indeed. If I go over there, I'm like, whose streets? Y'all. That's y'all shit. That's y'all streets. Right. You know, America. We did. What they say? They stole us. They stole us. They sold us, and now they owe us. You know. So I watched it, and I ain't make no comments, but that's really how I was feeling about it. I was like, yo, I'm damn sure I'm not on the police's side. That's number one. Number two, I'm like, yo, I like the way they was protesting too. They had no signs. A few of them had signs that said, you know, F-ICE, F-12 and stuff like that. But they didn't have no bunch of signs. Them people came to rock. They and I mean rock, as in throw rocks. They came to rock, and that's what they were doing. That's what caught my attention. All the police were hiding underneath of the bridge, and the people were throwing rocks and bricks and scooters and everything they could get their hands on. They were just throwing it at them. You know what I mean? Yeah. But to be fair about it, if it had been black folks up there throwing stuff, they would have been shooting live rounds at us. You know. Anyway, I'll drop it for a minute, but there's so much. Before I drop anything, rest in power to Sly Stone. He died yesterday at the age of 82, and I've been doing a little tribute to him for him on my Black Opium Lion channel. Black Power.
Black Power. All right, Black Joe, what's your thoughts on the subject? What Professor Black Truth just laid out for us?
Well, I'm always look at it as it being a bigger war against the black man because I look at it from this aspect. A lot of these are fighting age men. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Between this passport bro movement and their women no longer really. So a lot of people aren't familiar with the Mexican machismo culture that it imposes on their women. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I heard our culture, women complain about the men that are leaving our culture and dating outside of the culture, I look at it from an aspect they're taking these men, women from them, and when these men come here, that's why you have little girls getting raped, black women getting raped and killed in parks in Atlanta and stuff like that by illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
It's bigger to me than just a American issue. Everything is still going to come directly at black folk first. And one of them is between the jobs, the housing, the state aid, and all of that. They come over here and get licenses, grants for business. Under the last few months of the Biden administration, it was black women going online crying because illegal Mexicans were getting grants and buying them out of their businesses.
Yep.
So that was the beginning of me seeing white supremacy breaking one of its toys, which is the black woman. Because in the last few months, black women have lost over 100,000 jobs, and I love my women to death, but it's a lot of men right now that is not going to, how do you say, protect them if this really jumps off how it looked like it might jump off, because it will be the LGBT against black folk, Mexicans against black folk, Asians against black folk, and if we handle those adversaries first, then it'll be traditional white folk against black folk. But they're going to bicker within themselves because you got your Aryan, you got your German, you got all these different mixtures of white folk who differentiate themselves and they have nothing else to do. So when I say I look at this as a bigger infiltration onto the poor community in which that's the black community, it's an issue because us as black men, we don't have no cooperation from our women and not even ourselves. Because like once again, I'm gonna land my plane. The gatekeepers must be held accountable. Like only way anyone outside of our community with any power would take us serious right now is if we did something like old boy who crashed that car over his son. We shouldn't have to go to those extremes.
Rodney Hinton Jr. Yeah.
Yeah. And I land my plane. Hold on. And if you gonna crash, don't crash a car, man. You will live way longer and last way longer without crashing the car. And I land my plane.
All right, thank you, Black Joe. All right, V.
Big fours. I love the intelligence and the critical analysis. You know what I'm saying? Even if we differentiate sometimes in opinions, perspectives, etc.
Yeah.
I love to hear it nonetheless.
Okay.
To the point that the brother was saying a moment ago, about us. But let me take it back to the original point where we got into the concept of them being 6-1 in terms of us and numbers. I feel like we don't factor in, the fact that our people on a large scale do not participate in the census. So our number, as far as our population, we know for a fact is inaccurate.
Right.
And obviously, on a strategic level, it wouldn't serve the opposition's best interest to make us feel that we did have as many numbers as we would potentially. So even if they knew that we were much larger than 50 million, they wouldn't tell us that.
Real quick, I'm going to cut you off, brother, but I actually inflated our number by 20 million.
You say you inflated about 20 million?
I inflated our number by 20 million, yes.
I got you. Well, I say that to say that we don't actually know our numbers in that sense.
Right.
To say that we are incapable of anything in particular. And when we get down to what like the brother was saying a moment ago about what we could do for these motherfuckers to take us serious, excuse my language. There's a plethora of different things we could do that would be politically and even economically empowering that would garner their attention. But gratefully, our interest isn't to gain their attention. basically our interest is to autonomize and sovereigntize ourselves, or at least position ourselves for such, because that's really liberation. That's true freedom, to be in control of your economic, political, cultural, and social destiny. That's freedom. That's liberty. So right now, a place like California, and it's crazy. Conrad of Mines uses L.A. or San Diego as an example because there was a report published years ago about the concept of self-determination.
Yeah.
Now, my focus, of course, is on unilateral declarations of independence. So that's just us seceding by whatever means necessary without consent from the existing governing body. So if we do so by occupation, if we do so by referendum or plebiscite, it does not matter as long as we establish ourselves as a sovereign and autonomous people, and even establish ourselves as an independent nation state. To me, that is what our goal and agenda should be. If we really want to do things or make moves that will position ourselves for things such as that and make waves, hell, all we had to do is right now, we pick the town or the city that we feel is the most strategically viable with the largest population of us there.
Mm-hmm.
We start working on developing everything that that area would need to be self-sufficient or as close to self-reliant as possible.
Right.
We go ahead and start hitting the streets door to door, not only informing the people, connecting with the people so that they can make an informed decision about how they proceed, but we also do so to collect whatever talents, whatever knowledge base, whatever trades and skills that they may have to offer right then and there. These are all things that we could be doing to empower and to strategically set ourselves up for long-term success, as opposed to going out and committing revolutionary suicide, as one of my comrades or elder comrades would say.
Yes. Huey P. Newton, he wrote a whole book on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so are you familiar with the New African Republic?
The Republic of New Africa?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, they're looking at doing something similar. I would say right now our biggest strongholds are in like states like Mississippi, Louisiana, Georgia, and Alabama, and maybe Texas. That's a lot of Latinos in Texas, but definitely like Jackson, Mississippi would be a good place to start.
Yep, absolutely. Believe it or not, I have comrades that have been working there already, looking to establish a working referendum, which is simply just the people voting. I mean, all people have a right to be self-governed, whether we recognize that or not. And the fact that our people, despite the fact that the movement itself is like almost 60 years old or older at this point, like the organized movement, like the birth of the Panthers, so on and so forth. So you're talking about 60 years in which we've gone backwards. They
Yeah.
were more politically savvy and aware of what would empower us then than we are now. Like, we still arguing and fussing over domestic or constitutional law and bipartisan politics and all this other shit. Like, knowing that that shit has yielded little to no results over the years. We've had cities and towns where we've occupied mayorship, town commissionership,
Well, they
sheriff.
just
Oh, go ahead, Black Joe.
they just made a demonstration in Texas. So Muslims had bought up this big plot of land in Texas where they were going to have a self-governed, self-whole Muslim city. They shut that down. Now I understand 100% what you're saying, brother, but we got to also once again look at the history of Greenwood, them dropping the bomb on them folk in the city. Like, it's a history of when we pull off to ourselves, gather our resources in agriculture and build our own, we get attacked. That's why I keep on preaching, stay strapped or get clapped. They
Right.
do look, we're at a point where money and politics has been definitely shown to no longer be respected when it comes from Negro hands. That leaves one thing. So on that note, when I say all this is possible for us to branch off and have our own, even though we're not by each other. But the force we would have to be willing to use to defend our liberty. Okay?
Yeah.
We can't be scared to go to jail and give our life for our children. That's where it started. Our children giving their life right now for bullshit. We need to be willing to at a certain age. There's no more improvement you can do for your life. You can only do things to improve your future life, your children and your grandchildren. The folk is willing to sacrifice it all for their future. We learn everything else from them. Maybe we should learn that from them. And I land.
Good point.
Most definitely, brother. I definitely agree with you there, man. And my thing is, we have operated based on fear, or fear has governed our collective decision making as a group for a very long time. And
Yeah.
I get it. None of us wants to die, bro. None of us want to go out here. I mean, opposition has done a hell of a job. Even if they don't have all of these types of weaponry readily available to use for this and use that, they've done a hell of a job at convincing us that they do. So I get it. You know what I'm saying? I totally get it. But at this rate, brother, we're dying regardless. Like, if it's not based on them doing what they do, just the conditions that are breeding us and our next generation of children, if they don't do it, one of our kids could potentially do it to one of us.
But if we're 40,
Just based off the conditions, of perpetual poverty, like mass incarceration. I mean, we can go through the names of different political or different, let's just say, structures that are in place that we know are adversely affecting us. Nonetheless, I make the point that yes, we have many of our brothers and sisters who are more reserved in their decision making and how we should proceed, and we have those that are a little more zealous. For those that are a little more zealous and those who are a little more reserved, all we got to do is figure out a plan. Hell, the ones that are militarily minded and prepared to do whatever it takes to secure our freedom or defend our future, let us be the ones that step out there and make those plays. But we need to have some type of plan working in conjunction so that no matter how this works, no matter how this plays out, we come out on top.
for me, brother, the issue has been I'm 42 years old. The issue has been over the last 30 years for me is grandparents and parents aren't teaching the children that there is a war being waged against them.
Yeah.
If you know that there is a war being waged against you, you can move differently. It's children right now but actually black children, dark skinned children that believe racism doesn't exist.
That's crazy.
So I land.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Black Jones. That's like when I was coming up, I was told we at war. They hate you. They want to kill you. Ain't nothing I can do once the police get their hands on you. I was told this at a very young age, at like age 5. So,
brother, I'm 42, and my grandma, Lord rest her soul, picked cotton in Arkansas. I'm 42. Nigga, my grandma picked cotton. Like when she told me that and how she would have to walk away from the streets when she was on the sidewalk because white folk would ride past and try to randomly spit on her. She never told me why they had to flee Arkansas to come to Missouri, but you get to a point where you can't take it no more and things happen and you have to leave.
Right.
Like I tell everybody, the women in my family toted the guns, the men toted the women. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, bro, my grandma picked cotton, man, and she died at 78 years old.
Wow.
I got a huh?
Sharecropper in South Carolina. My great grandparents were sharecroppers in South Carolina, but my grandparents, they moved to New York City, so they didn't have to do that. But they did tell us the stories. Like my grandmother, she was a Black Panther as well. And she used to tell me about what her parents had to endure in the South.
They kept slaves in the South, literal slaves, up until the 1960s, early 70s, locked in on plantations. Didn't know the whole world was moving on without them outside, still castrating and hanging niggas on plantations. I got the documentary on my page, and it angers me every time. So for her to hear all these folks say that was 400 years ago, no, that was actually less than 100 years ago.
Right. Yeah, I remember
So
the video. They took the whole video down after we played it. But yeah, I remember that video about slavery still going on in the '60s, and all the way
yes,
to the '70s and '80s in parts of the South. So yeah, it's very recent. It's not that long
I
ago.
mean, slavery still
so
exists, my brother. I'm on a plantation right now. They call it a manufacturing plant.
Yeah,
yeah, we talking about go pick them weeds or we gonna beat you slavery.
yeah,
I mean, look, but think about it though. Think about it in the concept, right? Yeah, true. It's not a physical person in place to beat you if you don't, obey. But structurally, it is. If you don't get out here and you don't make this paper, this paper that they print, that they have absolute power and absolute control over, if you don't get out here and make this money, what's your basis for survival?
right.
If you don't operate based on what they consider to be acceptable behavior as a citizen, in which their classification of what a human being is what sticks. If you don't behave and conduct yourself based on that, then you still, I mean, I feel like only thing we did is we traded what we consider independent plantations for a larger structural plantation with smaller plantations that feed it.
hmm You just went from one plantation to another.
Yeah, that's the only difference. And at the end of the day, they still win. I mean, they extort you. I mean, hell, the slave catcher system still exists in law enforcement. Hell, that's partially the reason why we haven't made any real moves for independence because the slave catcher system still exists. You know what I'm saying? It's just transitioned into a more modernized form. But for us, and the brother made a point a moment ago, just to kind of get into the aspect of our Stockholm syndrome that I feel like we possess and cognitive dissonance
Hmm
that I feel like we display time and time again. Sometimes we recognize it and sometimes we don't. But we will find any excuse or any reason as to go any direction as opposed to the way that I think the vast majority of us who are knowledgeable historically about what has been attempted on our behalf that we know we should go.
Yeah.
We'll even beat a dead horse that died 60 years ago. Martin Luther King, in 1967, 1968, roughly, was already transitioning into a more revolutionary form of or approach as to how we should adjust our situation. Now, if that brother has been dead since 1968, and here we are still playing the same games. Like we're having anniversary marches with the exact same issues that they were marching for previously.
Yeah.
But we want to dance around the one thing that we feel like collectively will work. Now I get it. If it's a matter of military might, yes, we have our work to do. But strategy, tact, always give the people a higher chance or a higher probability of success versus just simply just, oh well, let, we can't really do too much, but let's get a couple guns up. Let's go out here and defend these neighborhoods. Okay, we can defend these neighborhoods, but you're defending a law structure that they created. If we go out and we govern the streets, at what point are we going to be militarily prepared to protect our people in a case where we know that this brother is being wrongfully detained or arrested, that we are militarily going to keep this brother away from them? Either way,
Right.
it's still going to lead us down the same road. So all I say is for the brothers who are more reserved with it, just hear us out who are a little more zealous and maybe a little more military minded
Yeah.
and let's figure out how we can take your methodology or your ideology and approach and couple that to ours and have a working plan going into the 2026 or
Right.
2027 at the absolute latest.
Yep, I can dig it, brother.
Big four. Most that, brother.
See, this the issue. You remember the Brooklyn mass shooter that shot that store up and killed all them black folk?
Yes.
The white boy did recognizance to the point where he went in the hood and chilled with them the day before he went and shot the store up. He had conversations with black folk and everything.
Oh,
And I
you
say this to point out,
you talking about up in
and I,
Buffalo?
yeah,
Yeah.
and I say this because they really do recon on us. They really study us. We don't study them. Like when I went to school for firearms, man, I got into exterior ballistics, and me learning that a 9 millimeter bullet only drops a inch in a football field. Think about that. I just want you to think about this: how long a football field is. If you got them posted up somewhere and black folk doing what black folk do, helping each other, and they take a football field pop shot, they can do that with a 9 millimeter and hurt everybody. They grow up in these houses hunting and stuff. We don't grow up in these houses. The closest thing we had to hunt was duck hunt.
Yep.
So when I say it's a silent war being waged against us, and it ain't about the militant niggas, the overzealing guys. It ain't about the quiet guys. It's about everyone needing to take a war posture and understanding that we are targeted. Yes, we have problems amongst each other with our bickerings, but we ain't never just killed each other because we was black.
Right.
We're dealing with that. We're dealing with a gang of others, not just whites, because right now the original Caucasian is on autopilot. He got the Mexican, he got the Asian, he got the tethers, the Caribbean, bro. It's stacked against us. If you don't take a posture of, I'm gonna give you an example of what I've been telling the women in California. The women in California have been dealing with racist women, and they've been using the hard ER, and they call them niggers. So on that note, the connotation that comes with a person calling you a nigger as a black person is a direct threat on your life. Layered escalation. You call me a nigger, I'll make you. To give a description of that. If you got a knife in your hand and you call me a nigger, if I don't have anything to defend myself, I gotta flee or I'm gonna die. But if I got something to defend myself, I'm going to stand my ground and invoke. I fear for my life because of the connotation of being called a nigger over the last 500 years has led to this point. Like, they're not respecting money, they're not respecting honor, they're not respecting morals, they're not respecting ethics. That leaves one thing, and I land my plane.
You're right, Black Joe.
And that don't mean go to war. That mean that if they put their hands on you, put them, make them cold.
No doubt. Well, I say this, bro. You said a moment ago, you said we're at war, bro. So I don't, it would be crazy for us to recognize that we're at war, but then do everything opposing fighting. Like we'll do everything opposite from fighting. Like that's basically where I'm at with it, brother. Like
Right.
we put it like this, right? We don't have to be in a military capacity to try to secure an entire country. We don't have to do that. There are more strategic ways of going about doing things. Hell, there's some reformist tactics that can even be made, that can be taken advantage of to better position ourselves for such. But we have to at some point concede to the fact that we have to be militarily prepared for anything that we do. If we really want absolute power over our destiny. Now, if we want partial power or crumbs or a little bit of power or a little bit of equality or equity, if that's what you want, then we can keep playing the game we playing. But I got 7 kids. You feel me? 5 of them are boys. I'm
Okay.
not betting. I'm not about to bet on that as being our final solution when I'm an able body to do this now. And I know for a fact I got sisters and brothers just as able as any other individual from any group to do anything that we need done, if not more.
Right.
I have,
When
maybe I would say it's a confidence thing. I have supreme confidence in our ability, and I'm just pushing us to get to that point too.
growing up gang banging, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I learned. Well, my homeboys, we was broke, man. Like we would share a box of rice between 4 guys, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Check dig. my homeboys used to always want to go and rob something, and I was opposed because it was never the person with the money, the person doing wrong in the hood. They wanted to go rob the man getting on the bus going to work. That's what I'm opposed to. I'm totally not for that. Like, and the whole situation of being at war, and salute your sons, man, 100%. The whole situation of being at war, bro. Yeah, I understand we can't be reactionary, but we can't keep turning the other cheek either. That's why we've gotten to a point where this disrespect is out of hand. I grew up in the age where white boys wouldn't say shit to you unless it was about 5 of them.
Right.
Now you got Karens willing to spit on you.
Mm-hmm.
That would never have happened. Right. Like the wolf that they're crying, they'll literally assault you and put you in a situation and cry wolf and try to get police on you. But also, I keep on speaking about this stance that has to be taken because in this day and age of digital surveillance, if you in the right, you in the right. You know if you wrong, we grown.
Right.
You know if you wanted to bust that Ofe head because that Ofe was Ofan. And you know that you had to bust his head because he was calling you the N-word and talking smack and trash in front of your child, or said something to your child offhand. Like, I got a light-skinned daughter, bro. Out here where I'm at, it's mixed with whites, and it gets real interesting with them trying to indoctrinate her into the rainbow community.
Mm-hmm. They pushing that on
like, and since they couldn't kill us off, we're not killing each other off at the rate that they expected. We're going to stop y'all from reproducing. We'll target your children. We'll kill the next generation. If we make your little girls like little girls and little boys like little boys, autopilot again. And you can't discipline them out of that. You can't check them about it in certain states. You got to deal with it. You can't emancipate them. You can't turn them over to the state. You got to deal with it in your house. So it's getting real interesting. And once again, united we stand, divided we fall. And only way we're going to get united is to get rid of the freaking gatekeepers. I keep bringing up these gatekeepers because they're the way to the politician. Like, if we go violence, man, it don't matter what the odds are. The people in charge got nuclear and biological and radiological weapons. So they'll end it before they let us win. But when I say these gatekeepers that are in charge something has to be done to them, and I don't mean, this is the issue. Sitting down talking to the Negro gatekeepers that have been screwing us over. I'm just gonna drop a name like FBI informant Al Sharpton.
Yeah.
To have somebody like him speaking for us, man, listen, no one is going to take us serious. They're going to pay him off. He's going to preach and do a dance, and black folk going to shut up to the next murder, to the next assassination.
Yeah, go for all.
So, yeah, is that? So when I
was just naming some.
Yeah, Freddie Gray, bro. Like when I say, let me give you an example. When they choked out Freddie Gray, if somebody out of Freddie Gray hood would have handled that appropriately, it would be a whole different story. Like, I'm not calling for violence, but when they are faced with the same violence they commit, they tend to stop committing the violence.
Yep.
I land.
All right, Black Lightning, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, that's just like Huey P. Newton said it as well. In order to, you got to, in order to get rid of the gun, you got to pick up the gun. That's what he said.
Yep.
You know, so I agree on that, definitely. They approach those. I mean, they okay. As far as the protesters, they're from a different thinking. I mean, they grew up with a different culture. So basically, the riot police are used to dealing with us, and it's a whole different ball game for them. I can tell some of them folks are about to start swinging. They about to start swinging in a minute. I'm watching it. I'm like, man, they just won they one thunderclap away from getting just doused with people. And I'm like, yo, maybe that'll make them think twice before they grab another brother and talk about stop resistance.
Wow.
To say here
But
it is.
like,
Yeah,
do
yeah.
not underestimate the force that the Trump administration will use against these white folk and these Mexicans. And I land right there. I really want you to not underestimate the force. This will cause the civil conflict. And I land.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm just saying that they it don't seem like they were ready for that, and now but they getting ready for it. I mean, they got to adapt. They got to adapt. But what I'm saying, while they're adapting, they gonna up their game, and when they come to us, it's like they gonna up their game times 10 when they come to us. That's all I'm saying.
No, they ain't gonna have to. They flying Cobra gunships and through downtown Los Angeles, like they're flying Cobra gun, bruh. A Cobra gunship ain't to do nothing but ground attacks. It ain't for surveillance. It ain't for transport. It's to attack the ground.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I know
So
robot dogs out there for facial recognition as well.
yeah, the white boy, the Mexican white boy that was throwing bricks at the car, they triangulated his phone to where he was standing there and went straight to his house. And when they got to his house, he had already cleared his house out and is on the run, bro. They are not playing with the surveillance. That's why I tell all of my young guys who are out in the streets, if you're ever about to go do something, cut on a documentary on your phone at home. Leave your phone on the documentary and go do what you got to do and come back.
Yeah, true that. I'm just saying that I haven't seen it to this degree before. It's like, man, we were out there in full force for George Floyd protest, but it wasn't nothing like that. I'll tell you that.
Let me explain this to you. If we had somebody in Africa backing us during the George Floyd protest, you'd have seen it like this. During the George Floyd protest, the FBI was flying their surveillance planes over, intercepting everybody phone data, just like doing Mike Brown, just not to that extreme. Because for one reason, for some grandiose reason, and I really appreciate it, and you gentlemen must be thankful that the United States government underestimate the male Negro.
Yeah.
Just be thankful for that.
Yeah, how about that? I know that they also during the George Floyd protest, I couldn't even go on live. It was like, man, it's like they were blocking cell phones.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even go on Facebook. You know what I mean?
It wouldn't let you do Facebook Live. It wouldn't let you do YouTube Live. None of that.
Yeah, they just shut it all down as far as any kind of cell phone, anything. Yeah, so it's getting interesting. I can't wait to see where it goes from here. But it's also, to me, every time something like this happens, it's a distraction. It's like, what's going on that we're about to miss out on again because of the distraction. Soon as we got close to making a dent in the reparations, something happened. And as soon as
what's going on, I can tell you what's going on. Ukraine just pulled in several trucks over in Russia and attacked their air bases and crippled a third of their nuclear bombing fleet. That's what's going on.
Yeah. And that China and Russia were bringing bombers over here. They were like 400 miles outside of U.S. airspace, heading in this direction.
We haven't been this close to nuclear war since JFK was alive.
Yeah, man. They had bombers this way. Not no jet to fight. Not no scramblers. No, the big bombers, the big boys.
And understand, Russia's nuclear response is called the Dead Man, and it's set up to go off without the aid of Russia's political elite. If it senses a nuclear detonation, it automatically launches at pre-designated targets around the world. So basically, they will end the world before they give up power. That's why I keep on saying, yeah, it sounds good demanding certain power. It's not asking for a seat at their table. It's making them ask for a seat at your table.
Yeah. Dead man switch. I heard of that. Yep. Yeah. Oh, well.
The clock is getting closer and closer to midnight.
Oh, you mean the doomsday clock?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why I keep preaching, stay strapped to get clapped.
Yep.
I've seen the doomsday
Have you
before. It always ticks. It always counting down. You know. Mm-hmm.
have you some water, some batteries, god dang on me, some solar chargers, like, hey,
Yeah.
they say that if the lights go off in the first week, we'll lose about 70% of our people just from simply losing the electricity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Solar
That's
power.
basically if someone launches a nuclear bomb high above the United States, just one high enough above the United States and detonate it, it'll short out most electronics all across this nation instantly.
They don't even have to do a nuclear bomb. They just got to do an EMS attack.
Exactly. There's no response to that, no launch back or nothing. And it's crazy to know that only person that could respond to that is Russia.
Wow. So if they go down, they taking everybody with them.
Man, the suicidal regimes is what scares me in this end times world, bro. Like, that's a lot of regimes that will literally launch all their missiles if they can't have it their way. If India and Pakistan, when they just had their little back and forth, they were threatening to nuke each other. They say a limited exchange between India and Pakistan will lower the Earth's temperature by about 2 or 3 degrees, which will cause a slight nuclear winter. That's crops dying, plants dying, people dying, disease being spread. Basically, a 1300 Dark Ages situation. So, man, everything right now is on a hair trigger, and the gun might not be drop safe. So if you drop it, it might go off. And oh yeah, while I'm on this gun shit, if anybody on a SIG P320, get rid of it, change it out for something, because all those guns typically go off if you got one in the chamber. If you move too hard, if you bump into something, it'll go off. It's a whole liability. SIG did a recall. I land.
Oh shit. Okay. Most of the people that got those.
Or convert it to a PDW chassis, because the PDW chassis for some reason don't have that problem and they use the same dang ports. I don't understand it, but SIG is refusing to do a recall. The Army is like no bueno on the 320s. Everybody against it, and some of the 365 small boy SIGs got striker drag, and they are detonating the bullets out of battery, which is causing the gun to basically grenade.
Wow.
Blow up in their hand.
I was gonna ask historically.
Yeah, plenty of stitches. You get a striker, you get a firing pin striking through your hand. You get plastic embedded in your hand. Don't get me wrong, Glocks and stuff do it too, but this is a factory design flaw that SIG refuses to pay for a recall on, and they just keep passing the dang on buck. Their solution at first was to lighten the weight of the trigger, but come to find out, it's not the trigger, it's something in the tension of the mechanism. Like, to see this literally being put into a holster, no finger on the trigger, and it go off, wow. Nothing was touched. Like, you simply bumped the frame and it went off. No, it's not, and it's not a light trigger in the gun, so it don't make sense. So just if you run around with a gun, a SIG 320 is no bueno, especially if you got a family.
Okay.
Wow.
All right, go ahead, V. You was gonna say something.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna ask historically, because I know it's like the brother was saying a moment ago about things being on edge. Just historically, at least in this body's lifespan, and I'm in my 30s, when has it never been a point where shit was at edge, or there was imminent war between this group and that group, and all of this shit that be going on, and ultimately we just kind of get left in this standstill position, too afraid to go left, too afraid to go right. So
1619. My fault. Go ahead.
Nah, what's the 3/16/19, brother?
I said pre 1619. 1619 is when they first enslaved us and started the war. It's been a
Oh,
war ever
pre
since
1619.
1619.
I got you. Yeah, I got you. Okay, I
Yeah.
got you there. Okay, okay. Yeah, but I said that to say, historically, did outside of what Hiroshima and Nagasaki, in which those were what hydrogen bombs, not actual nuclear bombs,
Yeah.
has there been any actual nuclear war that has taken place in which a particular group has been hit verifiably by a nuclear warhead or weapon?
No, but there has been nuclear espionage done by Russia on individual people with cesium 125 or 123 and palladium poisoning.
I got you. I got you. So that was more covert as opposed to just all out assault.
But like Chernobyl was at 86.
You said Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. That was in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Those in
Hmm.
Ukraine.
Ukraine. Okay.
But as far as nuclear espionage, Russia been the leading forefront on poisoning people with that, and they have been polluting blocks and cities with it, like having to literally shut down and do mop-ups because they wanted one person. The
Mm,
problem is NATO and all of the Western countries have not had the proper response to that. So when you don't whoop a kid tail for being disrespectful, they become extremely disrespectful, and that's what we got with Russia. But to know that right now that war over there is a fight between who's the biggest Nazi,
Yeah.
those are facts. Those are facts. Like understand that I didn't learn this till recently that a lot of Ukraine was ran by Nazis who stayed there who lost in the Battle of the Bulge, that battle over in Russia when they went over there in their code and died. A lot of them who didn't die just took up land in Ukraine and started families and stuff. These are real Nazis
Yep.
with Jewish descent.
Mm-hmm.
So when Putin went in on that Nazi stuff and I did my research, it was like, oh, okay, they Nazis. Then I did my research on Putin's Z battalion. I'm like, it's a war between Nazis and Eastern Europe. We need to stay out of it and pray that they don't go nuclear because if anybody go nuclear, even if it's not a direct strike on our land, we are going to slowly die off.
Yep.
right. And the reason why I asked that question is because the reason why these things haven't taken place, and keep in mind, our our access to information is somewhat limited. And it's definitely biased because all the sources that we essentially get are allowed, like they're allowed here. Like, with certain websites where we don't have access here, certain websites that they don't have access to in other countries, etc.
Yeah.
So in terms of information that we do have at our disposal, a lot of it, has the potential to be compromised or not absolute comprehensive accuracy because it may not have all the details, all the factors included. I say that to say the fact that this quote unquote imminent war has been going on for so long. We've been in the nuclear age now for what, 50, 60 years, 60 to 50s,
Yep.
essentially. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? So we've been in the nuclear age for this long with all of this country or major power versus major power nonsense, da, 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 da. Yet we've seen none of this actually come into play. We've heard about testing done in water, different things that different countries have found out other countries may have been doing secretly involving certain weapons and shit like that. But in terms of it actually taking place, we haven't seen it. The reason why I emphasize that is not saying that it's an impossibility for them to do it, because of course, if the circumstances call for it and they feel like it's absolutely necessary in order to save today, they'll say fuck tomorrow, and if that's necessary, I could see that maybe happening, possibly. But again, history does not support it. Another thing that I was going to get into about history is historically the US, as powerful as it is, hasn't taken on anybody of remotely close or supposed to be of equal power. There hasn't been a case where, you know, uh, I mean, the situation in Iraq, clearly there was a difference between their military capability and the U.S. military capability. All other smaller subsequent countries, of course, since the turn of the millennium, even prior, going back to Vietnam, in which, depending on how you look at it, some people feel like Vietnam, may have actually kind of won or came out on top in that situation compared to what it could have been. Historically, there is no this resume or this aura of invincibility that we have of them. Fuck what they present. You know what I'm saying? Because like the bro was talking about in the streets, we already know the person who generally do all the talking, all that, they doing that to keep people off their ass. So I gotta sell wolf tickets. I gotta make you feel like I'm this big bad wolf so that you will never attempt, or so that you will never try, or so you will never even concede to a possibility that it may be necessary to. And I feel like a lot of that has been breeded like time and time again. Like it's like even our best and brightest and who are militarily aware, knowledgeable, and trained, sometimes will look at what they basically have at their disposal and they will automatically assume that it's impossible for us to develop, create, or to even usurp, confiscate, commandeer, essentially what we would need to put us in a position where we would be able to militarily defend ourselves. And I feel like that is so much of us not necessarily overestimating them, because maybe they do have the potential and all the power that we believe that they have. But there's a possibility that maybe they really don't. Especially with a viable and tactical plan where you are stretching motherfuckers' resources and stretching motherfuckers' equipment and personnel. Things like that, swing the potential for outcome, let's just say. But I say that to say that I feel we have like this perspective of them that puts us in a position of like we're paralyzed, like fear-stricken, paralyzed, like we can't move, like we can't go that far now. We might can do this little bit right here, but if we go that far, they're gonna kill us. There's no way we could survive. And it's like we're telling ourselves this, like and I feel like it's a defeatist mentality of us overestimating them and then underestimating ourselves and our own ingenuity. I'm gonna land my plane there because I know I was going for a little minute, but I feel like we do that terribly.
The nuclear thing isn't really a fear, because one thing about it, if they use nuclear weapons, the land is uninhabitable. My fear is what came up out of China, the biological warfare. When the Chinese seen that COVID wasn't affecting the Africans like that, they started forcibly removing the Africans out of their country. So that bat lady over there in Wuhan, she really did gain of function research that was sponsored by the USA. So we infected ourselves, and the way the COVID is coming back around, I said this when it first happened. I pray to God that COVID-19 isn't the Trojan horse that keeps mutating and mutating and mutating until we got a 90% kill rate, because it's a smart disease. So the nuclear stuff ain't the fear, because typically when people make these kind of diseases, the cure is made long before the disease. There'll be a certain elite select few that will survive a biological attack versus the masses that die. And to hear that most of these people die from being forcibly put on a ventilator versus the disease itself is very, very interesting. So when I say we get to a point, but this is why I've been telling young men and young women with children, man, tell your kid he want to go to school for virology or gene editing. We got to do something different here. All of these same old sports and nursing and doctor careers, this got to be changed up. We really need to get our children in the STEM and genetics and engineering, man, because if there really was a fight, and we really wanted to win, and we wanted to inhabit the earth, and it couldn't be by force because they'll end the earth before they let us have it. It'll have to be through something that's genetically wiping them out. And I did the COVID statistics for a whole year. Yeah, a lot of odd people died, but it hit them for about 20% of their population, 30%.
And they already at minus birth rate. So yeah.
Exactly. So if a real war was to be waged, it could be non-violent, but we're going to need one of our born again African guy or goddesses, man, to come out do some genetic engineering and feed them people they death.
Mm-hmm.
So now nukes,
I mean, it's
no.
that's tactically keep in mind, man. And I feel like as much as we underestimate ourselves, I feel like the opposition does too.
Yes.
I mean, you gotta.
Brothers.
This ain't the right line for me to say it, but I'm gonna use it for an example because this shit was on Forensic Files just the other night.
Oh yeah.
There was a case where some years ago there was a quote unquote, T group. I ain't gonna say the word. Y'all know what the T. You know what I'm saying? It was a quote unquote T group. You know them
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
decided that they was going to poison the water of a local town, in which it worked successfully to a degree. Now they ended up getting caught, but they ended up getting caught. It was something to do with some a restaurant at some point in time. I can't remember the entire story, and I'm gonna dig it up. And if I can on the next cast, I'll make sure I'll go through the details. But this was a small group of people who, decided to take it upon themselves to, go on the offensive. Now, I'm not saying that particular strategy is what could be utilized on our case, but in order for us to get out of the box, we got to think outside of that motherfucker.
Facts.
So, when we say within the movement by any means necessary, that's not just a phrase.
Right.
And real quick,
So
watching them eat each other and willingly pass COVID to each other was interesting. My fault, brother.
no, you good, bro. But you right on par though, bro. But that's all I'm saying. At the end of the day, man, listen. I I don't know how many different organizations, how many different formations, how many different groups, how many different individuals I done came across with sisters and brothers with unbelievable knowledge, talent, genius. I done been in a box with brothers who can make all types of shit out of nothing. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? Who have little to no formal education, one trained, taught to do none of this. And you mean to tell me at this point of our evolution as a people, we aren't capable and intelligible enough to figure out a way to get out of our situation finally? With all the technological advancements around us, many of them we created.
Right.
And that's where the dog eat dog response comes in at. That's where the man who got caught up with traffic tickets sabotaged the man who got a idea on a hydrogen battery to power his house.
Yep.
You feel me? You feel
Like
me?
me, once again, me growing up in that gang bang environment, me watching men get pulled over and facing traffic tickets and possibly getting their car towed and giving up other men who got weight in their houses to not get their ticket. It taught me a lot growing up at 14, 15.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Well, I mean,
So,
the streets is the streets, but when it comes down
but
to
they,
it, bro, and I'll say this too. Believe it or not, the next generation, look, the next generation or the group who is now occupying leadership within many of the quote unquote street tribes
Yeah.
are on our type of timing, brother.
mhm.
Yep.
Not the
It's the
not the
old
young
boy.
bulls, not the young bulls. I'm talking about the late 20s, 30s, 40s,
Yeah,
the chiefs, the so on and
but
so
brother,
forth. Yeah, guys.
me I see. Look, I was a MOI of a Panther Party, bro. And when I tell you, for the last 15 years, everyone has changed below the 3 or 4 people who run it. Like everybody has changed. People that got locked up, people that been set up, people that been declared domestic terrorists and everything. But these same people who are embezzling money at the top, who control it, the gatekeepers who are taking their orders from the politicians, maintain their power.
Yeah.
Right. True enough.
So when I say they have to be held accountable and not in a fashion where, oh, I'm gonna go tell the state, man, listen, well, in the Mac, did he throw old boy in the trunk with some rats?
No doubt
When a
about
person has
that.
the fear of God in them, they tend to do what's right by the people.
Yeah.
You ain't necessarily gotta, but if the threat of is there, and the threat of is there, only if you don't do right, they tend to do right and buck that system. Dr. Khalid Muhammad, he came up out of the HBCU, but when he bucked the system, what happened? He
Got rid
bucked
of
that
them.
system. Yes. He bucked all that boule BS, and they got rid of him, and now it's some more boule BS. Look, man, this boule thing strong, and it go back to who was that old cat on tape? Talk with the high voice that was castrated by one of them white boys.
George Washington Carver.
It goes back to him and the rest of them Negroes that started their boule class, and I'm gonna look down on you if you getting your hands dirty and you a sharecropper and you can't read BS.
Yeah, that's
it has persisted into this day.
Shit.
And to know that Howard University is named after a Union white general, it ain't after no black. Like all this, bro, all of it. This is why I'm mad about the whole gatekeeper situation, because when it's all said and done, the gatekeeper calm niggas down, and then the gatekeeper go talk to massa and get a grant. The same gatekeepers will tell you don't work with white people, don't get these grants. The government ain't got your back, and the government is funding them as they speak that BS to you.
Right.
That's the issue I have, brother. That's why I'm at the gatekeepers.
Well, I'll say this. As far as realistic solutions to being able to figure out a workaround for that, right? All right, now holding them accountable in the sense, if we're not looking to do it physically, could be rather difficult unless we can basically usurp their support system, essentially the support that they get from us. Because we wouldn't be able to eliminate them getting government funding, like you said, unless somebody was going to blow a whistle.
I actively watch these men pursue people with possible smut on their name to hold that smut over them. That's like, so the issue is almost at a point where you couldn't go to the state about them. You couldn't talk to 12 about. There's no one to turn to about them except for some stuff I'd rather not say on this live. But it's crazy because that's where we at. We're basically waiting on these men to die if nothing is done of natural causes.
No time. Well, I feel like, bro, I'll be honest, bro. I don't feel like, I feel like the people, bro. I mean, I feel like the people still got the power. Yeah, the gatekeepers have the say so because they got the platform and then they got the resources. So
see
how can we either gain those things for those within our group to reposition our people's attention? Go ahead, brother.
I'm gonna tell you the catch. I'm gonna give you. I don't too much talk about my situation, but this is my situation. I went to school for armoring. I'm a gun armorer by trade, okay, and a computer tech. I had a sister who was in the party finna get her 501c, and she's finna get a building. I had the tools. She had the building. We were going to teach all of the Panthers how to arm themselves from scratch, okay. And in this bright idea, and we were going to check everybody. If you had a criminal history, we weren't going to participate, and you may have gained the knowledge, but you weren't going to touch the guns and the tools. You understand what I'm saying? So when the higher ups heard that was our plan and we had everything acted in order, They first started some stuff with her and got her up out of the Panther Party. And then they exiled me because I told them with what they doing with the dudes, all police had to do was follow the money. Exile. I still got the emails and the recordings and all that.
Wow.
So when I tell you it's a real thing about the game, I have the emails and I have the recordings like we're on right now. Like these fools were letting a young man about 20 years old be their minister of defense, and he called himself Vietnam, bro. During this time, we was in Iraq, Fallujah, we was over there kicking ass, and you're calling yourself Vietnam. My first red flag, he ended up getting caught with a Beretta M9 on him with no firing pin. Come to find out, he was one of them people. So when I tell you, I have documented proof of dealing with certain people in certain real life groups that are still in charge right now. That's why I say the gatekeepers have to be addressed, because when it's all said and done, they go use these Negroes to go rally and hop on bullhorns and protest in the communities, and that calm down niggas and give niggas a way to vent versus going in front of these folk in their offices and in they little crevices or wherever the hell they at their town halls and literally get in their face and protest.
Right.
They use these Negroes as a buffer.
Yep.
That has to stop. You ain't even gotta fuck with me, but you gonna respect me and my people.
Right.
And if you don't, just like we'll go eye for eye until we both blind you, bitch.
Right.
So yeah, that's where I'm at with it, bro. Like I've watched the last 15 years and I've been involved with different organizations, and I literally see where the 3 or 4 people in charge embezzling money and screwing over people and just keep hope alive. Oh, we're gonna protest. Nigga, don't your lungs and fucking feet hurt?
Right.
My feet hurt. My lungs hurt. I'm done yelling. When I'm done yelling at my child, boy, it's only one thing coming after I'm done yelling. I land.
Right.
Man, look, listen, the principle, and I love to bring him up, man. Several, the comrades in general, like the brother is the principal reformer. When we think of civil rights, when we think of the holiest or among the holiest of our ancestors who put it on the line, Martin Luther King, name generally comes up, regardless of how you feel about his position or if you feel like he was, an agent or operative at some point in time or working in conjunction with the government or whatever. For the most part, we, honor him to a degree. Even he, like I said, even he was tired of marching. And again, this has been almost 60 years that this man has been gone.
Yeah.
So if that horse was dead then, and he is the essential leader for that entire movement or that ideology of going through the government to make change through a non-violent agenda, if he felt that way then what are we doing in 2025?
Right.
Assimilating.
Expecting a different result, which is
Right, exactly. Which is the opposite of what we should be doing.
I see a lot of assimilation into this European culture. I got to the point where I'm starting to call them Negropeans.
Yeah, there's a lot of Negropeans, and they're part of that gatekeeping class too.
For real, like, and to know that when you look back at everything and you go to the indoctrination camp of the school, like they really going after the next generations from the cradle. Like this is no longer the prison, the school to prison pipeline. This is the indoctrination pipeline. This is this is something different, man, because it's almost like if either you're going to be a homosexual child or you're going to be a government child. You're not going to be your own individual person. You're not going to be your parents' child. You almost can't pass down family values anymore. Everybody like, what happened to the gatherings and shit? Like it ain't just on family, it's on environment as well. We don't have a family environment in these schools. These schools is read the instructions, do the job, and if you don't pass, we'll pass you on. No child left behind.
Yep.
So when these children are graduating high school and honors and stuff and getting to college and realizing they can barely freaking read, it's interesting.
Right. They got to take remedial courses.
Yes, yes. So when I tell you, I can go all the way back to all this being done, along with a lot of our women. If you a man and you 9 to 5 and you ain't out there on that BS, you lame. But a white boy doing the same thing, if they swirl or whatever, oh, he a G, he a Mac. Bruh, these white boys, these Mexicans, these Asians, we are, listen, it is our women's fault. They have went to the internet the last 10, 15 years and bashed us for wanting to be stand-up fathers, for wanting to have them in relationships, for wanting to be with them and marry them.
Yeah.
These other women from these other countries, they men shit on them, slap them around. You better, why ain't you cooking? So when they see that we are these stand-up guys, we taller than they men, and even our lamest of the lame put it down on them better than they original men can, that's going to be a problem and a conflict between men. And that's what we're headed to with this border Mexican stuff. It's going to be a conflict between men, not women and children. It's going to be, it's crazy to me because I'm seeing all these men, how do you say, are dealing with, I can't think of the word, John, but the women are wearing the pants in these relationships. And nothing wrong with equality, but when I say I know a couple of men with bodies under their belt, and the women talk to them like if it was a man in the street, his life in danger, and she doing it in public, humiliating him, and I'm like, bro, you a whole killer. What are you?
Right.
You know, when we grew up, you had the bras, nigga. Why is she talking to you like that? Nigga, what are you on? My girl don't talk to me like so. When these men are getting emasculated by these women, the shit snap 1 second away. So we are
what is the old in Chicago that shot the dude just for talking to his girlfriend?
Yeah, that shit at the gas station.
Yeah.
Trying to the black dude shot the white boy outside that one store for saying something about the girl tattoo.
Uh-huh.
So when I tell you we are men, see, look, I keep telling everybody, is women and is bitches and is hoes. Is men, is males, and is niggas. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you have to separate yourself from the rest of the pack. I'm not saying don't love your people and don't watch out for your people, but you got to know when the cause is lost on certain people. You are only going to hurt yourself if you keep throwing into an empty. If you keep putting your bucket into an empty well expecting water, you're going to die of thirst.
Yep. That's real. Well, we need to wrap this up, gentlemen. I appreciate y'all coming on. So we're going to move to closing statements. So whoever want to go first, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead, Rizzy, because I got to get back to the plantation temporarily, you know what I'm saying, last week. You feel me?
Yeah.
But I do want to say I appreciate y'all, brothers. Definitely want to tap in with y'all. When all of these spaces and rums and programs and demonstrations be going on, I always say that whatever collaborative and cohesive work can be done behind the scenes to really position the things that we be discussing or positioning in these conversations, whatever that can start off with or whatever that need to look like, my contact is available. Hit me. You know what I'm saying? I'm all for dialogue and building and forming and bringing awareness to our people, but I'm for the engagement for us to actually secure our liberation. On that note,
subscribe to Frontline Black News on YouTube. That's the channel that we're streaming on.
if this brother Shabaka'S page, then I'm already subscribed, and I double back just to be sure. You feel me? But I wanted to say on the note, this July 4th, everything I'm talking about right now, I had some comrades, myself, and in fact, Sister Comrade Desiree is engaged with him as well.
Okay.
We're putting this into practice. So on July 4th, in Detroit specifically, as far as where our comrades are engaging, but wherever you are in whatever city, state, whatever.
Okay.
We are looking to actually assert our collective right of self-determination as a people. Now, all of the work as far as the ground voting, preset, much of that has already been done in Detroit. So that's a place that is considered ground zero. Now, I'm not engaging every single comrade who isn't in the capacity quite yet to come out for that. But if you are, please do. If not, make sure you get in contact because there's a lot more to come after this. This is just an exercise of many.
Okay.
So on July the 4th, 2025, the city of Detroit is looking to declare independence unilaterally by way of vote through the people. You feel me? So y'all make sure y'all tap in. It's called Black Summer 2025.
Okay.
All right, but yeah, appreciate y'all brothers, man. I'm gonna definitely tap in, man. And like I said, my contacts is available. Brother Dynamite got me directly. Sister Desiree got me directly. So I definitely look forward to building with y'all brothers later on.
Okay, appreciate you coming on, V. 40M, appreciate you. Feel free to come on anytime. All right, Dynamite or Black Joe, whichever one of y'all want to go.
Yeah, I ain't got this Black Joe. I got much to say, but it's supposed to be a national protest, 385 locations across the nation, June 14th by Mexicans and whites. Understand, black man, this ain't your war. Sit back and prepare for what may come your way. No justice till we get no peace till we get peace. And stay strapped to get clapped, man. Because like I say, once again, y'all, if you're using logic when dealing with these people in this current war, you're doing yourself a disservice because it is all based on emotion, and people are willing to die over their emotions. And I land my plane. Black power.
Black power. Always welcome, Black Joe. All right, go ahead, Dynamite.
All right, Black Power. Well, I'm just watching it all play out, you know. But like I say, I learned that a long time ago. I mean, I actually proved it to myself a long time ago that whenever you got somebody juggling 5 balls on a unicycle, look to the other side of the street because that's a distraction and they're trying to take your attention off of what's really going on. And probably the fact that wars and rumors of wars, that's what's up. I'm just watching it. It's like when Rand Paul went and tried to crash the lynching bill. What was it? The Emmett Till. Yeah, they had an Emmett Till part in the lynching bill, and he waited until George Floyd's funeral to go on the offensive. So he was fighting the bill while what's his name? Damn, what's that dude name? Gosh. The one that used to look like James Brown, the preacher, what's his name? Activist.
Al
He went from
Sharpton.
Al
Al
Sharpton.
Sharpton.
Yeah, Al Sharpton was actually he was standing up in front of the podium, getting ready to give a few words on George Floyd's behalf, and I'm like, you didn't know George Floyd, so I flipped the channel, and as soon as I flipped the channel, I see Rand Paul fighting the lynching bill. He waited until Black America's focused on something, you know, the George Floyd situation.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know, for one, shoot, let me just spit it out. Larry Hoover, he wasn't his sentence was commuted, and that was the 6 life sentences. But he still got to do 200 years in the state. So everybody's thinking that he got what do you call it, a pardon, but he didn't get a pardon. And so I'm thinking another distraction, you know. And in the meantime, I don't know what's going through Trump's mind, but he he actually lifted the ban on on switches and bump stocks.
Yeah.
You know, something that'll make your weapon turn full automatic. He just signed a bill. Even places where those things were outlawed, they're gonna be able to bring them back again. I mean, you got a lot of the young brothers out there with them already, but you know, I'm just saying you don't want everybody to have them. Soon you'll have a redneck arguing with you in traffic, and he'll have a switch on his damn Glock. You know what I mean? It's like the only thing. Huey said this too, and I'm saying my own words though. The only thing keeping them brave is that gun. And as soon as they don't have that gun, they know they're outnumbered. I mean, as far as one-on-one fighting skills, they don't have it like we have it. So when they start putting out bump stocks and switches on guns and stuff, they'll be the ones. They'll be the ones with them. And then you know how they always do. They'll allow us to have something, and then they'll turn around and change their mind, and then they'll be coming in people's homes to confiscate it, and they'll be like, "Oh, he's armed, and I'm in fear of my life," you know, that type thing. So I'm gonna keep on watching, and I'll see y'all on Saturday on the Black Ophenham Lion TV channel. Black Power.
Black Power. Thank you for joining us, Dynamite. All right. I agree with everything the brothers have said. We is at war, Black family, and what's going on in L.A. right now. This is not our fight. This ain't got shit to do with us. So continue to plan, plot, mobilize, strategize, and do what's best for our community. This is gonna conclude season 10, episode 25. Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced in conjunction with the Frontline Black News. Join us Friday for Grand Rising with Shabaka and the Chase at 8 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Mountain, 10 a.m. Central, and 11 a.m. In the East. And join us on Saturday for Frontline Black News. In the meantime, make sure you like and subscribe to all of our platforms, Frontline Black News on YouTube and Facebook, The Revolutionary Agenda on YouTube and Facebook, and Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced on Facebook and Twitter. I don't know what happened with Shabaka. He was supposed to come on. Hopefully he will be back on Friday. So we'll see y'all then. Peace and Black Power.
Peace and Black Power.
Thanks, boys.